Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and in this video, we're going to bring in an NPM package, and we're going to start modifying our roles, and we're going to make some really key upgrades to our user dashboard so that it actually gains some functionality. So let's get going on that right now. So now my table should be looking quite a bit more like yours because I've added these styles that should be already existing into the repo by now. Now what we have here is really just a table full of all of the users on our website. Now what's so great about Meteor in general, let me just head to my incognito window. Notice how first, let's check it out. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 users here. Let's go ahead and add a new one. And we can just have this be, let's go ahead and click register, I'm sorry, new at gmail.com. You don't have to obviously create these many users. I just want to show you a bunch of this stuff. So we can click register. And if we tab back, you can see without doing anything, we now have this new user in here. I know that's little, but you can now monitor this stuff in real time with Meteor. And that's one of the things I like so much about it. I could come back to my page after not refreshing and just see who's registered, right? And you'll notice we have them where they're created with their date. We're going to do this to make this a little bit nicer here. Let's go ahead and use the power of Meteor 1.3 by installing moment.js. Now you can get here by moment.js.com, moment.js.com, not moment.js, and we can install easily with npm install save moment, or npm install moment -- save. So from our project, I just have a new tab. Let's go ahead and jump to the actual site itself, wherever you, of course, you keep this. Change directories into the root of your project, and we're going to run npm init. This is going to initialize our project with a package.json file. If we can hit enter through all of this stuff, actually the first one you can't because it's complaining about the name. So you can just enter the name. It doesn't want capital letters. And you can just really breeze through all this stuff because we don't need it right now. When it asks us to OK, we can hit yes. Now we can head back to our code and we can check it out. We've seen that we have now been created a package.json file, which should be empty and just have the stuff in here that we entered or hit entered through. Now what we want to do is go ahead and install that package so it gets saved to our packages.json file, and we can do that with npm install moment -- save. Now this is great. This is exactly how normal JavaScript projects and Node projects work. So this should be very familiar if you've ever worked with Node, and if you haven't, npm install moment -- save is going to go and fetch this moment package and save it into our Node modules. So now if we check out our code, we should see another new thing. We now have a Node modules folder. We don't need to access this folder ever really, but inside of it we have moment. Now the reason why we add -- save to that install command is because what it does is it adds this dependencies as moment. Now what's great about this is that you can pass this repo along without the Node modules folder in it. As long as the user has a package.json file, they can run npm install. It's going to go ahead and grab all of the dependencies for them. So obviously this is a benefit to using the npm stuff, and now we no longer have to rely on a wrapper package from Atmosphere. So let's go ahead and now at users.js we get to do something new with Meteor 1.3. We can import moment from moment. This is brilliant because this is so easy. We don't have to have we don't have to have a wrapper package. We don't have to worry about somebody else updating this stuff. Okay, let's go ahead and just check out our site. Make sure nothing is broken. We're not getting any console errors. It's always a good idea after you install something new and you try to import it. That way you can make sure that the import actually worked. Okay, import seems to have worked. Let's go now to our date function where we can use moment. So we can say date format. Let's say moment, which is a function. It's going to wrap around this dot created at. And now we're turning this into a moment variable, and now we're going to say format, which is also a function that we're chaining on here, and we can pass it in a format. Now the formats are all listed on Moment's website. The one I'm going to be using inside of a string here is MMMM, capital D, YYY. And I also want to go ahead and just have HH. You might be wondering what this all is. You'll see in a second. This is the month, date, year, and hour. But let's check out what it actually ends up looking like. Well, as you can see, nothing, because we didn't use that helper yet. So now we want to actually use that with date format. Let's come into users, change created at to date format. So this helper, date format, looks at this, grabs the current created at date, gets it, turns it into a moment, and then formats it based on the moment formatting. We should now see nice and pretty created at dates. March 12th, 2016, and it was at 3 o'clock. Now, I actually don't need that hour in there. It seems sort of a little extraneous here. We can get rid of that and just have what date they created their account. Okay, so that's great. A nice little addition here. We've now added moment.js to nicely format our dates for us in this table here. But that's not really the point of what we want to do here. What we want to do is have a detailed view for the users. Sure, we've cleaned this table up quite a bit, but now I want to go ahead and be able to click on one of these users and actually manage them. Now, a typical web application in the past may have done something where you click on this and it takes you to a whole other page with form fields and stuff like that. But I don't think I want to do that this time. I think I want to do something much cooler than that. When you select a current user, what it's going to do is fill a session variable with their ID, and it's going to load that information up right in this very window here, and you can see exactly what a modern web application can look like. So let's go ahead and set up this click on here first. Let's go ahead and head to our users.html. Let's give this a class of user ID. Let's copy this class. Let's head to users.js, and now let's make a events. We can say template users.events, and this is a method with an object inside of it, and inside of here we can have a new click event on dot user ID. Let's go ahead and grab this here. Now let's have a function where we can just console.log this. Not this dot, but just this, okay? Let's go ahead, head back to our site now. Let's click on a user ID. And you can see we have this object here, which includes all sorts of stuff. It includes the entire user object, created at emails, profile, all that good stuff. What we want to do is set a session variable. So we can say session.set, and we can pass in the current user, comma, and then we can just pass in this. Let's check this out now. I'm going to open up my jet setter with Command M. Command M here, we can see our session variables. I can click an ID. Let's head over this, and you can see inside of that we have everything of that user. Now we can go ahead and click any of these, and as you can see, it updates and changes based on what we've said here. Beautiful. So we now have all this information. Anytime we click one of these user IDs, it's going to go ahead and give us all of this information. Let's go ahead and do a couple of things. One, this click area right here is, you can't tell it's a click area. So I have this user ID class. If we head to our styles, we can always say .user ID. It's going to have a color of $red, and it's going to have a cursor pointer. This is going to ensure that the user knows that they can click on it, although we might want to have a hover state. You know what, this red's not really doing it for me. Let's go ahead and just say blue. That might be a little bit better. Cool, that looks a little bit more affirmative instead of a little less don't touch this. So now we have these blue links. Obviously we would want to have some sort of hover state eventually, but we can click on them, we get the pointer, and you can see that we should in fact be able to click on them. Cool, so we have this, we're getting our value set inside of JetSetter. Now what we want to do is we want to build a div within our table data here. So in users.html, we can really put it in any one of these TDs. I'm going to go ahead and put it in this last one just because. And inside of here, what we can have is a div with a class of, let's scroll this up so you can see a little bit better. The class is going to be user-edit. Okay. And we can close that div out here. Inside of this, I can put whatever we want here. So let's actually just have like an H3 that says edit user. Let's go ahead and have a button that's just going to say make admin. Okay, now this button should only exist if they already are an admin. So we could use our isAdmin. However, right now it's outputting two things, right? It's outputting normal and admin. I don't really feel like that needs to have that normal, so we can have either admin or nothing here. So if this is true, output admin. So now it's going to output admin when they are and absolutely nothing when they're not. You'll notice we have this big annoying form right here, or this edit area. We are going to do something about that in a second. Don't worry about it. But as you can see, we have admin here and nothing. So let's head back to our code. In here in users.html, we can use this as an actual conditional now. And we can say pound if is admin. Now what we'll want to have is something in here if they're not an admin, but we can have an else and then an and if by /if. Okay, let's go ahead and have another button in here, and this button can be remove admin. Now upon refresh, you can see that the current admin has the remove admin option and other users have make admin. So we're either making an admin or removing an admin. Cool, so let's go ahead and write the helper that actually makes this button work. We can have something like we can have a class here of toggle admin, and we can use the same class on both of these. So class toggle admin for either or. And let's go back to users.js and let's make a new click event for this. We can say comma click, and then we want to say dot toggle hyphen admin. Now this is going to be a function where we're going to grab some information. We want to actually set the user's role based on what they currently are. Now what we want to do first is check if the current user is, I'm going to delete this console log by the way. What we want to do in this toggle admin is we want to check if this current user is in fact an admin already. We've used something like that to check with this dot underscore ID is admin. So when we click on something, we can say if roles user is in role, this dot ID admin. So if they are an admin, we want to roles dot remove users from roles, and we want to say this dot underscore ID comma admin. So this is going to remove that individual from being an admin. And if we have else here, if they're not currently an admin, then they're going to get the opposite. They're going to be added to the admin. We'll just copy this and paste this in here, but what this is going to say is instead of remove users from roles, add users to roles. Cool, so our toggle is checking to see what their current role is and then either removing them from being an admin or adding them to the admin group. Let's go ahead and in here, let's go make somebody an admin. And you'll see I get an error, add users from roles. Yeah, that's not correct. We need add users to roles. So add users to roles, remove users from roles. Cool. And now in here, we should be able to make someone an admin, but we get insert failed. We get access failed. We're not allowed to make someone else an admin on the client side. Obviously, this is here to protect just any old person from coming in here and saying, yeah, make this person an admin, make me an admin, okay, because they would be able to run this roles on the client side. Let's go ahead and now jump to our methods. Now, we don't have any methods yet, so let's head to server. Let's make a new file. I'm just going to have this be methods.js. Inside of here, we can have a meteor.methods. We can have a new method by saying meteor.methods. And inside of this object, we're going to have our new method, which is just going to be toggle admin. Now this is just going to accept an ID because we need whether the current user is an admin or not. And let's go ahead and have this brackets like this. So toggle admin ID. And now inside of this function, we can paste in our whole stuff here. So let's come back to our users.js. Let's grab all of this stuff here, cut it out, and paste it into this method. If users and roles. Now, instead of this.user ID or this underscore ID, we want to say ID, ID, and ID. And this is all going to be run server side. Now we can call toggle admin in users.js by saying meteor.call, pass it in the string here, which is toggle admin, and we can give this the ID with this dot underscore ID. Super cool. Now we're now calling the server-side method with meteor.call. It's going to pass in this underscore ID. This underscore ID is going to come in here. It's going to come in as ID, check to see if our role is an admin based on that ID, and then remove or add the user to the role based on what that is. And this time we shouldn't get any sort of access error. So let's click make admin. And look at that. We have an admin, and we can just make all these people admins if you want. But as you can see, edit user, remove admin, we can click remove, it's gone. Now let's see what happens when we click remove admin on the current logged in user. Instantly. Gosh darn, that is awesome, man. That right there is why I love Meteor. I clicked remove admin, I didn't have to do anything else. I'm suddenly not authorized to view anything. Super cool. Okay, let's head back to our page and let's go ahead and make ourselves an admin once more. You can hit Control M, users, update your current user, comma, admin, save it, and we'll once again have access to all this stuff, such as the user management page where here we have our users. Okay, so we have our admin buttons working, and we can now quickly demote and promote people. However, this interface is no good. So to advance this interface, I have some CSS for you, or it's actually some Sass. So I'll give you a link to a code pen here, and you can paste this in to your sheet here at the very bottom of styles.scss. No, I don't want to actually paste the URL from that. I'll make the URL for this in the description of the video. You can come in and grab this code, or you can head to the GitHub for this series and just grab it directly from there. But basically what we have here is we're taking the user edit object, which we created in our users.html, which is this div right here, user edit. And what we want to do with user edit is we give it a position of absolute. We're floating at left 300. We have a width of 280, so it's just pushed off just a little bit. We're also giving an opacity of none and a transition, as well as a card of 2, which gives it a little bit of a drop shadow and some padding. Basically, we're just making this into a nicer looking interface. Then we have this close button, which is going to, we'll get to that in a moment. And then once edit mode is enabled, we're going to go ahead and give this an opacity. Now you might be wondering, what's edit mode? Okay, well, I've made something here that allows you to click this And what we want to do is when one of these is clicked, we want to toggle edit mode on. So to do that, edit mode is going to be a class on the table itself where this user edit is. And edit mode is going to trigger a couple of things CSS wise. So let's go ahead and write that code. I'm going to head to users.html, and all the way up here at table, I'm going to actually have a class is equal to, and inside of here is a string with double brackets. What we want to do is have a helper here. We can say edit mode. Okay, let's come to users.js, and we can have a helper, which is comma, edit mode. It's going to be equal to a function. This function is going to return if there is a user selected, right? So if we've clicked one of these and it exists within JetSetter as session current user, if current user has data, see if it's null, we'll get null, but when we click on one of these, it's going to have data. So if current user has data, then we're going to output edit mode. Otherwise, we're not going to output anything. So we've worked with session before. We can say session.get current user. And if current user is equal to anything, so we can just have a question mark here, and we can return edit hyphen mode. Otherwise, return nothing. So this helper is going to just check globally if current user is has a value. If it does, it's going to turn on edit mode. Let's see what that does for us. Let's come back here, and you can already see some change here. We already have this thing pushed over in an odd way. Let's go ahead and refresh this. So what I'm doing with edit mode is I'm really just translating this whole thing over to the left, and I'm triggering an opacity change on this form here. When we click this, you can see it slides over nicely, and we now have access to this Make Admin button. But you'll notice a tremendous mistake here. What we have is this form. However, it's all of them. It's all 6 or 7 of these, however many of them. So obviously this one, you don't even know what this pertains to at this moment. So what we can do to modify this is let's go ahead and only have the one that even exists, whichever has the ID equal to whichever ID is stored in our session. Let's make another helper. We can say current edit is going to be equal to a function, and this is going to return, and we're going to grab first session.get user. So we can say let user equal to session get current user. Now we can say let's return if user dot underscore ID is equal to this dot underscore ID. Now you might be wondering, how does this work here? Well, we're going to be using this in our each. So it's going to look at this current user right here, and it's going to say, hey, does this person's ID, this number right here, equal the one that's saved in the session data? Now we can use that as an if right here. So pound if current edit, then show this stuff. Otherwise, don't show anything. So now not only is this edit the only one going to be shown on our screen, but it's not hidden with CSS or anything. It's out of the DOM entirely. So let's come in here, and now we have one user, and you'll notice it says remove admin because Scott or sco@gmail.com is already an admin. If I select a different one, you can see it updates accordingly. Now we obviously want to make this be able to close, so let's go ahead and add our closing icon in here as well. We have in login modal, we had this FA icon close. Let's go ahead. We can actually grab the same thing from login modal. It's the icon. It's just a fun, awesome icon. We can have this in here in our user edit. And instead of close login, we want this to say close edit mode. And we can save this. And now we should see this thing's going to be in the top left. Let's go modify this CSS. I'll make sure this is modified by the time you grab it so it doesn't look so weird here. And to modify this, I want to give this a bigger click zone, so I can say padding 20 pixels. Pushes it away a little bit. It looks like I forgot a semicolon. Okay. And now you can see we have this X, which isn't going to do anything yet. So we want to have close edit mode as an event on users.js, where we can click users. We can click dot close edit mode. It's going to be a function. And check this out. This is going to be really cool. We're going to set current user to null. We're going to set it to nothing. We're just going to say session.set current user, parentheses here. We're going to say current user to null. Brilliant. Okay, so now what's going to happen, we click this close button. It's going to set our session of current user to nothing, and it's going to close edit mode because of that. Brilliant. Check that out. Super cool, right? So this is a nice little admin interface. We click on one, and we now have the access to modify them. And it's not taking you to a new page or anything. We can actually add a whole bunch of stuff in here, which we will do in the next video. Now, there certainly are a bunch of additions we need to make to this. Right now, if you were to come to this page after not looking at it, you'd have no idea what user you were currently editing. In addition, all we can do is remove or add admin status to this user. So what we want to be doing is we want to turn this edit user form into something way more usable. We could delete that user, we could promote them, we could change what they are in the system, we could maybe upgrade their account, you could change their email, you could really do anything, and we're going to get into that in the next video, as well as also giving you an indicator of which user is actually being edited over here. But as you can see, this user dashboard is coming along. This is pretty cool, right? Awesome. So as always, this is Scott with Level Up Tutorials. If you have any questions or comments, leave a comment in the video, hit me up at Twitter or Facebook at Level Up Tutorials. I made over 850, probably hitting up to 900 free tutorials since I started Level Up Tutorials, all on YouTube. If you want to have more free tutorials, head over to store.leveluptutorials.com and help support Level Up Tutorials creating these free tutorials so I can continue to hopefully hit over 200 or even 300 more videos this year. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.